Welcome to the dojo. In this video, what I want to talk to you about is how you can go about deliberately developing a growth mindset. A growth mindset is critical to our ability to keep learning, to evolve, to become more skilled and capable. As you can imagine, it is necessary in order for us to achieve our full potential, achieve our ambitious goals in life. So people who have a growth mindset have a tendency to learn from experience. They have a tendency to see challenges as opportunities to learn something new and to grow. Fundamentally, a growth mindset is having the belief that our abilities, our talents, our capabilities, our character traits can be developed with persistence and work. We can actually evolve as a human being, as opposed to a fixed mindset where we stay within our comfort zone. We have a fixed view of the world. We have our belief systems that have, in most cases, been unconsciously developed, and we just respond to life from that place. So obviously, if we have a fixed mindset, we're going to be more resistant to change. We're going to be more uncomfortable with change. We're going to absolutely want life to be more predictable. There are steps that you can take to deliberately shift your own thinking and get into that growth space. So I'm going to share some tips with you about how you can go about doing that. But as I say, this is something that takes work, it takes dedication. You need to decide that this is what you want for yourself. You actually want to challenge your own thinking. You want to reprogram some of the unconscious belief systems that you have. You want to step fully into that potential, because it's going to require that you self-reflect, that you keep bringing yourself back to the promises you've made to yourself. So if you catch yourself being in that fixed space again, being able to see that, get back on the horse, try it again. Because the reality is we don't have a magic wand. We can't just go voila and all of a sudden our brains are different. So that's just a bit of a heads up that each of these tips are going to take discipline and consistent application over time for them to start to make a real difference. So let's kick off into our first tip, and that is to reframe how you see so-called failure. For many people, failure becomes discouraging. It's something that makes us hesitant to actually give it a go next time. But the reality is, every time we fail at something, we have an opportunity to reflect on the lessons that come from that. But critically, we can also see it as just a part of the journey towards mastery. So again, easier said than done in the moment if we're feeling sad and disappointed, something that we wanted to achieve and then fell short. But what I want to do is just share some words of wisdom from Michael Jordan with you, who spoke directly to this point. I can never remember word for word the quote, so I'm actually going to read it to you because I think it's worth it. And what he said is, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I am successful. Great words of wisdom there from Michael Jordan, all about taking those lessons, getting back on the horse, doing it again, practicing over and over and over again, not allowing those failures to actually be the roadblock or the stumbling hurdle that we just don't get over. So again, that's my first tip. Reframe how you're thinking about things that don't go to plan. My next tip is to embrace the concept of not yet. So rather than saying to yourself, I'm really not good at something, reframe that to, I'm not where I want to be yet. So rather than making it a definitive statement that that's just not something within my capabilities or my wheelhouse, or that's just not me, giving yourself that permission to actually master that over time. So rather than saying I'm not good at it, it's more about not yet, but I'm working towards that. I'm striving towards that. Because there's a simple truth in life. None of us is perfect. If anyone tells you that they are, they're lying. Nobody is perfect. So again, give yourself permission not to be the whole way there yet. My next tip is to get curious rather than defensive. Now, again, I understand this can be super challenging in the moment. If our mind is triggered and we're feeling that we're under attack and we're under threat, we can very readily go into that fight, freeze, or flight response. So it can be challenging. One strategy to calm that down is just through our breathing. But if we can actually get into a headspace where we're curious about what somebody is telling us, so say, for example, we're getting feedback that's uncomfortable, resisting that temptation to immediately defend ourselves and push back, and to actually stay curious as to what is this person seeing? What did they experience? What can this actually show me or teach me that's actually valuable? So, similar to that, my next tip is to turn judgment into inquiry. Similar to curiosity, but now we're actually asking questions. So, we're in the state of curiosity, and now we're making inquiries or asking questions that help us to understand. So, for example, what might I not be seeing? There could be a suggestion put to you that something could have been done more effectively. Again, leading into that and asking questions around why is that the person's perception. So again, rather than just judging it as, well, that's just wrong, or you don't understand everything you need to understand to be able to judge me, reserving all of that emotional response and as I say, inquiring so you can understand more about what the person's sharing with you. My next tip is to set learning goals and not just performance goals. This is all about identifying what things do I want to master in order to continue on this journey of development and achieving my career aspirations. I encourage you to think about, obviously, this might be the technical skills. So if you're in a particular profession and you want to get better or more senior or experienced, able to take on more complex work, then obviously that needs to be on the list as well. But equally, I would encourage you to think about what aspects of my own character do I need to develop. So do I need to become more patient? Do I need to become more tolerant? Do I need to be able to be more organized, more disciplined, more focused? Do I need to be calmer under pressure? Do I need to find ways to be more creative, to be more curious? Again, whatever it is, I encourage you to reflect on aspects of your character that, if were stronger, would better position you to be able to be successful as an individual, as a team member, or obviously could also include as a leader. So if you're not sure where to start in that regard, you can get onto our website. We have a deck of cards called the Dojo Deck that includes 60 character traits. I designed those so that you can literally just each day pull a trait and go, okay, that's what I'm going to focus on. Today, sitting on my desk, I've got imaginative. So I'm going into product development mode. So I want to really think outside the square. So again, just a handy little tool to help you to do that. My next tip is to make sure that you are celebrating progress over perfection. So this is about giving yourself credit where it's due. Again, if you are working towards achieving a goal, then stop and smell the roses along the way. You've put a whole lot of work into achieving those milestone steps. So give yourself credit for it. Recognize when you've actually moved forward, and recognize again that, perfection doesn't need to be the goal regardless, but none of us is perfect. It's okay to still be a work in progress. Chances are you're going to be a work in progress the rest of your life. So you may as well get comfortable with that it's okay. You're still learning, you're still growing, you're still moving forward. Then my next tip is to surround yourself by people who are going to inspire and lift you up. Now, again, this can be easier said than done, right? It's sometimes we find ourselves in a workplace or in a friendship group where that's not the case. But to the extent that we're in control around that, if we can spend time with people who are also striving, who also want to get ahead, who are also open-minded and learning and growing and taking on board feedback, then that's more likely to be comfortable for us to do the same. But again, we're more likely to be inspired to go there and to have emotional courage when we're surrounded by other people doing the same. So my next tip is just to normalize the learning curve. There's a bit of a theme running through everything I'm saying today, and that is cut yourself some slack. Understand that it's going to take time to learn new things. Now, this is all super important. Remembering we're talking about this in the context of going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, and remembering that in that fixed mindset, one of the things that we really want is predictability and comfort and certainty. So it's going to take emotional courage. It's going to take us being uncomfortable to go out here and give new things a go. It's so important to keep anchoring our focus back to, I'm still learning, I'm still mastering this is okay. Because it's the self-judgment and the self-punishment that can have the biggest detrimental impact to our ability just to keep giving things a go, to do the Michael Jordan and fail hundreds of times so that ultimately that we're able to achieve it. It's normal. So give yourself that credit. Then my next advice is to focus on what you can control. I'd encourage you to reflect on how often you have railed against reality, where you have pushed back and gone, this isn't fair and this is frustrating, and how much energy you've actually wasted in that space. The more we can focus on, well, what is in my control, the more we will feel empowered, we'll feel powerful, the more we're actually going to feel like we have a degree of agency and we have, we're in the driver's seat of our own life. A fixed mindset will want to batten down all the hatches, make sure everything's under control. One of the things I really want to encourage you through this video to do is to start getting comfortable with discomfort. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be a bit anxious. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's what you then do despite that feeling. Having courage isn't the absence of that discomfort or fear. It's acting despite it and stepping forward regardless. And then for my final tip, it's to ask for feedback and to actually use it. So applying all of the other tips in terms of maintaining that curiosity, reserving judgment, inquiring with questions, applying all of those rules, I now want you to proactively go out there and ask the questions, get that feedback. It is nigh to impossible to see everything about ourselves. The nature of self-awareness is, for most of our time, we've got blinkers on, we're operating in our own little bubbles relative to our own perceptions of reality. So we can think we know ourselves, we can think we have a good handle on how other people are experiencing us and what our reputation is. But the reality is we can't know that unless we're engaging in helpful, constructive conversation with people who can hold up that mirror and help us to see ourselves. Go ask that feedback, do it regularly, become a bit of a feedback junkie. The more you do that, the more comfortable you'll get, the more you'll learn about yourself, the more you can, again, deliberately start to create this mindset that's going to allow you to unleash your potential. Thanks for joining us again. As I mentioned in this video, if you want to check out the Dojo Deck that has the character cards, you can go to corporatedojo.com and order those from our shop. Thanks for joining.